Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team PPR mock draft from the 9th overall spot on ESPN. Inside today's video, I'm going to give you guys my thought process throughout the draft, how I feel about where I'm going to be picking inside the draft, going over why I pick each player, as well as talking about how the draft is going as a whole, all the picks around me, what is happening, and my thoughts overall on that. But before we get into this mock draft from the 9th overall spot on ESPN Fantasy Football, I would like to let you guys know, if you guys are new to this YouTube channel, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you do end up enjoying today's video, because not only is it free, I'm putting out content every single day. This is video number 3 on the YouTube channel. The first video of the day, I did my top 24 wide receiver rankings, and then I talked about the Carson Wentz injury that is going to impact this draft as we are sitting at the number 9 overall spot. And in this video, obviously, we're doing a mock draft every single day. There are multiple videos on my YouTube channel, to make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you do end up enjoying, as well as please hit the like button whether you are new or have been watching for some time, because it helps boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. So without further ado, let's get into it. Also, real quick, if you guys do enjoy reading about fantasy football, make sure you check out the pinned comment as well as the link in the description to awesemo.com, where I post free articles every single day. So the draft begins here with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Dalvin Cook, and then Saquon Barkley. The number 1 and the number 2 overall pick every single draft are basically the exact same. Christian McCaffrey goes number 1 every single time, and then at number 2, a majority of the time, Dalvin Cook comes off the board, and then at number 3 is where things really start to open up. You see Alvin Kamara go, you see Jonathan Taylor go, you see Derrick Henry go, you see Saquon Barkley go. You can see a whole bunch of different running backs going at the number 3 overall spot at every single draft, so it's very interesting to see where people go. Right now, I am not too worried about Saquon Barkley's health, but they did end up bringing in a new running back today to that backfield, so it is a little bit worrisome on how healthy he is going to be for week number 1. So continue to monitor that as we get closer to draft season in late August or early September. After that, we see Travis Kelsey, Alvin Kamara, and then Derrick Henry. So on ESPN, this is something that I've noticed in basically every single draft. Travis Kelsey goes in the first round every single time because he is ranked as the 4th highest player on the screen. So people who are picking number 4 are like, hey, you know what? I want to get Travis Kelsey on my team. He's not going to fall later, so you have to pick him earlier on ESPN, whereas on Yahoo, on NFL, on CBS, on these other websites, Travis Kelsey is either a back half of the first round pick or he falls into the second round. So it's very interesting to see how different sites have their draft board laid out, because that severely impacts how people are going to be drafting. After Travis Kelsey came Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, and then we see the first wide receiver off the board in Davante Adams with Aaron Rodgers there. Obviously, Davante Adams is clearly worthy of a first-round pick. Looking at the board right now, the question is, do we take Jonathan Taylor or do we select someone different? Because Jonathan Taylor is a running back with top 5 potential, but with Carson Wentz not being there potentially until week 9 of the 2021 NFL season, based upon what we know right now, I am fading Jonathan Taylor. Let me know if you would take Jonathan Taylor at the number 9 overall pick with what we know right now. So I'm going to go ahead and lean running back Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers. With Aaron Rodgers healthy, to me, Aaron Jones is a first-round pick. This guy is a touchdown machine. I genuinely believe that A.J. Dillon was going to have very little impact on the upside of not of A.J. Dillon. Of course, A.J. Dillon's going to have impact on his own upside, but I don't think he's going to really impact Aaron Jones this season. I think we see very similar numbers to last season and a potential top 5 finish at the running back position. After Aaron Jones came Austin Eckler and 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. So we're back up on the board. The question now is, we are in the second round. Now am I fine drafting Jonathan Taylor, or do I want to reach lower down? And at this point, with how much I know about Jonathan Taylor, I know he's a good running back, but what I don't know is if Carson Wentz is going to be healthy, because if he's not and they don't bring another quarterback in and it's Jacob Eason, I'm going to be very nervous. So I'm going to play it safe and draft wide receiver Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills. Now, normally I am a preacher of drafting 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, but if I don't love the running back value in the second round after I already have a running back in the first round, then I'm not going to do something crazy and draft another running back, because while I am confident in Jonathan Taylor's skill set, I am not 100% confident that the team is going to be able to move the ball with any type of efficiency, even with one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League without Carson Wentz. Now, again, they could bring in a Nick Foles. They could bring in a Gardner Minshew via trade, and then the door is back wide open, in my opinion, for a potential top 5 season for Jonathan Taylor. But without Carson Wentz, with Jacob Eason under center, like, how good is Jacob Eason? Probably not that good. Reports out of camp are that he's not looking the best. And if Carson Wentz misses 9 games potentially, then Jonathan Taylor is severely handicapped, and if they're trying to pass the ball more, that could make Nyheim Hines more involved in this offense, which is going to hurt Jonathan Taylor even more. So I'm very worried right now about drafting him. His ADP is already falling. He was a locked and loaded first-round pick previously, falling into the second-round pick in this draft. After Stephon Diggs came Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Hopkins, Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris, Calvin Ridley, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire to close out the second round. All reports are pointing towards positivity for Antonio Gibson. Reports came out today as we are speaking that Antonio Gibson is going to be perfectly fine. That foot injury is not a big deal at all, so that is very, very good for Antonio Gibson. In the third round, we see DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, Keenan Allen, and Darren Waller go inside of the third round. Darren Waller going in the third round in this draft. Very interesting to see where he goes in a lot of drafts as well, because I've seen him go as high as a second-round pick, and the latest is around a fourth-round pick. I believe he is perfectly fine to be drafting inside of the third round, because to me, he's the only other tight end that has that potential to eclipse the point value that a guy like Travis Kelsey can put in and week out. But we are back on the clock here. Our team on the left, as you can see, is Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs. So I'm fine going either running back or wide receiver at this pick. With the fact is that I like a lot of these wide receivers, but I know that the running back position is going to fall off relatively soon. So I'm perfectly fine drafting a running back here in J.K. Dobbins, running back of the Baltimore Ravens. I wrote an article about him on Osmo.com where I declared that he genuinely does have potential to be a top 12 running back. I would prefer to have drafted Chris Carson, but he went 1 pick ahead of me, so I get J.K. Dobbins, a running back in one of the most run-heavy systems in the National Football League. I understand that Lamar Jackson is going to be taking away some carries, blah, 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 blah. Gus Edwards is going to take away some carries. To me, who gives a fuck? Because J.K. Dobbins is the lead back on this team. We've seen a lot of talent out of him. I've seen the pass-catching potential at Ohio State when he was the running back there 2 years ago, was a rookie last year. I genuinely believe in him this season, so I'm fine taking him inside of the third round. Now we are up on the board here, and there are a lot of running backs that I like. Not really. There's a lot of wide receivers that I like is what I meant to say. So I'm going to go with Allen Robinson here. He is my highest ranked wide receiver that is still available. I believe in Chicago, whether it's Andy Dalton for a couple of weeks, whether it's Justin Fields for the start of the season, I doubt that at this point. A lot of reports are coming out of camp that Andy Dalton looks pretty solid, that he's looking like he's going to do what he came there for. And there are also some reports that are telling me that, hey, maybe they want to do with Justin Fields what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, where Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for a whole season, and then the next year they are going to fully unleash Justin Fields in 2022. Is that possible? Yes. Is that likely? To me, no, because in my opinion, you want to play the best quarterback. Alex Smith at that time was considered to be a very good quarterback in the NFL, whereas Andy Dalton is just considered to be an average quarterback, so I don't think that's going to happen. I think we see Justin Fields at some point in this season, but even if we don't and we see Andy Dalton, Allen Robinson's a guy who has put up humongous numbers with the likes of Blake Bortles. That guy's not that good, right? The likes of 9-inch Nick Foles, the likes of Kiss and Titties Mitchell Trubisky, so he can definitely put up big numbers with Andy Dalton. He's the clear number one in the Chicago offense. He is looking to get paid by a team. I highly doubt the Bears are going to pay him because they are just tossing him around. I say this because instead of paying Allen Robinson the big bucks, he continues to wait on that big contract, and they bring in Kenny Gallaudet. They whine, they dine him, they probably 69 Kenny Gallaudet in order to get him to come to the team, but he doesn't come, but they still gave him this huge dinner, this huge welcoming party in Chicago, but they're not rolling out the red carpet for Allen Robinson for some reason. But again, that doesn't really have too much to do with 2021. I think regardless of if it's a contract year or not, Allen Robinson is going to have an excellent season in 2021, regardless of the quarterback play in Chicago. After Allen Robinson comes CeeDee Lamb, George Kittle, Julio Jones, Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Patty Mahomes, Robert Woods, Josh Jacobs, Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson, and Darrell Henderson Jr. As the offseason continues to go on, continues to keep on chugging, we are going to see if the Rams stick to their guns here and keep Darrell Henderson as the workhorse back in LA, or if they're going to switch up on us, bring in a Le'Veon Bell, bring in a Todd Gurley, bring in a maybe Frank Gore, the immortal one, and then, you pivot back on Darrell Henderson. But what we know right now, Darrell Henderson, to me, is very much worth a 4th-round pick. After Darrell Henderson came Tyler Lockett, Josh Allen, and Cooper Kupp. Typically, we see this after Patrick Mahomes comes off the board. Then, relatively soon, people start to panic at the quarterback position. And then you see a Josh Allen come off the board. And then after Josh Allen, you're going to see someone else panic. Then Kyler. Then you're going to see maybe Dak Prescott, maybe Justin Herbert. All these quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, are going to fly off the board relatively soon based upon what I know about how drafts typically work. Now, that could obviously not happen, but that would be my assumption right now. Looking at the board here, there are not very many running backs available. That's why I like to snag at least 2 running backs early on in the draft. So we're going to go ahead and draft a wide receiver here in DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers. Now, DJ Moore is one of those wide receivers that's going to put up the targets, going to put up the receptions, but the biggest question mark into what is holding back DJ Moore from a potential top 12 wide receiver finish on the year is his touchdown total. This guy is allergic to scoring touchdowns. He's like Julio Jones, but like the Walmart version, because Julio Jones can carry his numbers from the targets, from the receptions, from the receiving yards, whereas DJ Moore has yet to really do that. He's put up the numbers, but hasn't, cracked the top 12 without scoring these touchdowns. So we're going to need some touchdowns for DJ Moore. But as my wide receiver number 3, I feel relatively comfortable with him with Sam Darnold under center. Looking now at tight end, I do not really like those tight ends that are available. I was looking for TJ Hawkinson at running back. It's kind of dicey, so I'm going to go ahead here and draft Kenny Gallaudet, wide receiver of the New York Football Giants. Now, with Kenny Gallaudet, to me, the upside is relatively limited by Daniel Jones, but he also comes with the extreme floor of being Kenny Gallaudet, the alpha wide receiver in New York. If Daniel Jones has any brain inside of that skull of his, then you know what he is going to do? He is going to try to save his job. He is going to try to get that big contract eventually in New York. They gave Kenny Gallaudet the big cash. They gave Kenny Gallaudet all this money, and you want to know why they gave it to him? To be the number 1 wide receiver on this team, to be the safety blanket for Daniel Jones. I believe Kenny Gallaudet could have a big year, but it is limited by the potential of Daniel Jones just fumbling the ball away, turning the ball over like he has tended to do in his career thus far. If that stops, which I doubt, but if it stops, then Kenny Gallaudet genuinely could have top 12 potential this year, but to me, it is limited by Daniel Jones. The other wide receivers going in that range, I don't necessarily love, so I'm fine drafting Kenny Gallaudet, even if he's considered more of a safe pick. After DJ Moore came T. Higgins, TJ Hawkinson, then I went with Kenny Gallaudet. After that is Mark Andrews, Kyler Murray, Raheem Mostert, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Dak Prescott, Chase Edmonds, Cortland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kyle Pitts, Odell Beckham Jr., and Michael Thomas. So if you guys rewind the tape, I think I was exactly correct on that, where after, Josh Allen went, after Mahomes went, then people start panicking. Kyler, and then you see Dak Prescott. That is going to happen in drafts. Sometimes it happens all in a row. Someone takes Allen, then the other person panics, and they go all in a row, which is something that could happen. Same thing happens with the tight end position in this range as well. Now, in a league like this, in a 10-team league, I am genuinely much more likely to pull the trigger early on a tight end versus a 12-team league, because the positional advantage is just much stronger in an 8 or 10-team league for the tight end position. I did not do that in this video, but that does not mean that is not necessarily a strategy that I would abide by. After Kyle Pitts came Odell, Michael Thomas, Will Fuller the 5th, and Chase Claypool. Odell going in the 7th round to me is one of the most idiotic things you can do. Odell is on a very run-heavy team in Cleveland. Odell is not the same Odell that you guys remember from a couple of years ago making that reach back like 1-3 catch. He's not that Odell anymore, and even if he was in this offense that likes to run the ball so much, I really worry about Odell Beckham Jr., and I genuinely believe he is just a waste of a pick. Michael Thomas, interesting pick inside the 7th round. You should be able to put him on your IR, which is good, so you can hold him there for a while, but I don't know. I don't know how much upside Michael Thomas has, especially if he misses a lot of the season. So looking on the board right now, it says we should draft Aaron Rodgers, but I'm certainly not going to be doing that. At tight end, it's a bunch of tight ends that are all in a similar range. So I want to go ahead and snag a running back before things start to get dangerously bad. And in the 7th round, Mike Davis is an absolute steal. To me, he's a 5th, a 6th round pick. But on ESPN, you can maneuver the average draft position because he is going so much later on ESPN. So he is going to be coming at steal prices inside of the 8th, the 9th round of drafts because of how ESPN has their average draft positioned. So that's why I advise you guys, if you're doing mock drafts, to please mock draft on the website that you plan on drafting on when you do your real draft, because that gives you the best idea of how a draft is going to go. Obviously, a mock draft isn't going to be tried and true to how your league mates are going to be drafting, but it does give you a much better idea of when players are going to be available. Looking at running back right now, I don't necessarily love any of these players. I do like Damian Harris at wide receiver. Not super in love with any of these guys as well, but I do want to go ahead and get some value here with Jerry Jeudy because I do not believe he is going to be coming back to me. Now, I do have Brandon Cooks ranked higher than him, but as the days go on, my thought process on Deshaun Watson is just fucking tumbling around like I'm on the gymnastics team. I frankly have no clue if Deshaun Watson is going to be playing for the Texans, if he's going to be allowed to play at all, or what is happening, because it seemed like he was fine, and then today there's talks about maybe he's not going to be practicing, so I don't know. I think Brandon Cooks could still be good with Tyrod Taylor, with Davis Mills, but obviously that's not the best. If it was Deshaun Watson, that is the best case scenario. So I'm fine going with Jerry Jeudy. Reports out of camp is that Courtland Sutton is looking very sluggish, that their head coach is pretty worried about Courtland Sutton, which bodes well for Jerry Jeudy to really have that breakout season, but we need to go running back around this spot if someone is available that I like. And again, just like with the running back that we selected prior, Mike Davis, Damian Harris is being slept upon heavily by the ESPN ADP. I don't know how they do this, if this is Matthew Berry's rankings or how this works, or if this is a conglomerate of rankings or just how people are drafting. I don't know how it works on ESPN, but Damian Harris in the 9th round is insane because Damian Harris is the lead running back in New England. In what world can you normally draft the lead running back on a team inside of the 10th round, the 9th round? Normally, you can't. Normally, that's like a 6th round pick. On other formats, on Yahoo, on NFL, he goes a lot higher. ESPN's ADP is so out of whack. If you are drafting on ESPN, you are going to be able to make and construct a beautiful team, especially if you've done all of the research. You've been watching these videos. Maybe you don't even watch all of my videos. You're watching other videos. You are just going to have such a big advantage over your league because of how fucked up the ADP is on ESPN. So now we are back up on the board here. We got a bunch of running backs, got a bunch of wide receivers. Looking at tight end here, again, to me, we are in the coin flip range where I'm not ultra confident in any of these guys. Looking at quarterback, I like Brady, I like Tannehill, I like Burrow, I like Hurts, so I'm fine waiting. So we're probably just going to go ahead and draft another high upside running back with this pick, and we are going to go ahead and select running back Leonard Fournette. Now, I don't love that pick because I think week in and week out, you are going to be pulling your hair out trying to figure out which Tampa Bay running back to start. But in the 10th round, where I already have Aaron Jones, I already have J.K. Dobbins, that's 2 running backs. I already have Mike Davis, that's number 3. I already have Damian Harris, number 4. Leonard Fournette is my 5th running back on this team. So I don't really need to rely on him. But if there is a shot that Ronald Jones goes down, again, knock on wood, I'm not rooting for injuries, but what I'm telling you is if he was to go down, if he was to get hurt, then the upside of Leonard Fournette is genuine top 12 running back because of how good this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is. So I do think he's worthy of a pick this late in the draft, but if you haven't drafted a lot of running backs early on, there is some supreme risk that is just baked into Leonard Fournette, and that's why he goes later on in the draft. So right now we have 1, 2, we got 3, we got 4, we got 5 running backs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 wide receivers. A good rule of thumb is to finish the draft with more running backs than wide receivers because it's so easy week in and week out. I know I've harped on this a bunch in videos, so if you're not new to my videos, you've heard this before, but it's so easy to find a wide receiver off the waiver wire that you can just throw into your lineup, especially in a 10-team league. But the running backs, they are very, very shallow. There's not that many on the waiver wire, especially if there's no injury. It's very hard to find a random running back off the waiver wire that you can throw into your lineup. So taking these shots later on in drafts at the running back position is damn near needed to find success in fantasy football. A.J. Dillon is definitely a handcuff on this team. I feel like an idiot because Ronald Jones is still available, and I much prefer Ronald Jones over Leonard Fournette, so I apologize for taking Leonard Fournette over him. I would have switched it to Ronald Jones, but the ADP on this website is fucked up. I should have been paying more attention because Ronald Jones should easily go above Leonard Fournette, but we are going to go ahead and take a tight end at this pick, and we're going to go ahead and draft Irv Smith. I do have Noah Fant ranked ahead of him, but again, we are in that dead zone of tight end where it's just about a coin flip about their potential, whereas I am 100% sure and locked and loaded in on Irv Smith genuinely having top 5 potential for the Minnesota Vikings. I believe that Irv Smith is going to cut himself a nice girthy pie out of this offense, and he is going to be getting a lot of work at the tight end position this year with Kyle Rudolph gone, so I'm all in on Irv Smith, so I will happily take him at that pick. I'm fine waiting a little bit longer on quarterback unless I love any of these players. I do definitely see a fall off from Matthew Stafford to the other quarterbacks, so this is when I'm going to have to pull the trigger here inside of the 12th round, and it's very likely that people start drafting backup quarterbacks, so I don't want to end up with Daniel Jones or something as my starting quarterback, so I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford here, quarterback of the LA Rams. He did not make my must-draft quarterback list, but he is in that range of Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, which is basically where I'm drafting a quarterback in every single draft. I'm going to land one of those guys, and I love all of them for fantasy football this year. Matthew Stafford, the reason why I like him so much is because this LA Rams offense is just loaded with this firepower. Obviously, they lost Cam Akers, which sucks because Cam Akers is a very talented running back and is going to be able to effectively move the ball. But maybe now they're trying to look to throw the ball maybe just an inch more, a teensy bit more, and that is going to lead to more production from Matthew Stafford. I see this a lot like the Lions offense, except for way better. Kenny Gallaudet, that's Robert Woods. Marvin Jones, that's Cooper Kupp. I can really see this offense tearing it up in 2021, so I'm very excited to get Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay implementing all of these great plays into his brain. Sean McVay is an excellent head coach. Matt Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. I know not a lot of people will agree with me on that, but I genuinely believe in that, and I think you're going to be seeing that a lot this season with the potential that Matthew Stafford has in 2021. So we're looking to get up to draft yet again, so we're probably going to lean running back. Don't need a backup quarterback or a backup tight end when I'm confident in my starting quarterback as well as with my starting tight end. If I waited longer and didn't draft an Irv Smith and I'm sitting here and I have maybe a Jonnu Smith on my team, maybe a Hunter Henry, then I'm definitely looking to draft another tight end. Tyler Higbee, also a guy getting tons of hate on the ESPN ADP. That guy is a steal, ranking 163. ESPN really needs to give its head a shake or people are going to end up with these complete and utter God squads in reality for fantasy football. Looking at running backs, it's kind of a shit area, but Gus Edwards is buried down here. And Gus Edwards, I understand that I do have J.K. Dobbins on my team, so it's technically a handcuff, but if I'm being honest with you, if I didn't have J.K. Dobbins, I'm pretty confident that there are going to be multiple weeks in the season without an injury to J.K. Dobbins that will lead to Gus Edwards having fantasy football value as your flex potentially, or as your running back too, because this team runs the ball so effectively, and with Mark Ingram gone, Mock Ingram, he's in Houston now. Now the door is wide open for Gus Edwards to be the clear number 2 here and really succeed on a very run-heavy offense. Real quick, before we get into our next pick, if you guys have ended up enjoying the video thus far, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below if you have ended up enjoying. This is a much quicker mock draft because everyone ended up leaving. They're all on auto draft, so I do apologize for that. But there's nothing much you can do in early August. In later August, there are going to be drafts where people stick around the whole time. And I will be trying to do some mock drafts with you guys, the audience. So I will let you guys know when that is going to be happening. So looking at wide receiver, Paris Campbell with this Carson Wentz news, he is off the board completely. I like Darnell Mooney, but I already have Allen Robinson, so I'm not going to be taking him here. I'm going to play it a little bit spicy here and draft Rashad Bateman. I do understand that he's much more of a risk than my usual targets here, which would have been Russell Gage. Of course, I can't see it anymore, right? Because why would they let me see that at this point? But a Russell Gage, maybe one of the other wide receivers in that range that I really like. But I think Rashad Bateman, sure, he's more of a risk, but Hollywood Brown is really hurt, it appears. Now, I'm not saying he's going to miss a bunch of games, but he's hurt right now. Rashad Bateman is also hurt, but he could become the clear number one in this offense. They aren't super pass heavy, like I said, but I do think being the number one wide receiver on any team definitely has some value, even if they run the ball a lot. So I think Rashad Bateman is going right now at a very solid price. Obviously, if you want to be safer, draft Russell Gage, but at this point in the draft, I am shooting for complete and utter upside. I'm already very confident in Gallaudet. I'm confident in Allen Robinson. I'm confident in Stefon Diggs, so why not take a late round shot on a wide receiver with the upside of Rashad Bateman? So the final two picks have to be defenses and kickers because ESPN does not allow you to draft non-defenses or non-kickers. They make you fill up those positions. So we're going to go with a kicker first because I think you actually should go kicker with your pick earlier on with the round 15 pick because of the fact that they're going to be in your roster every single week. I typically don't stream kickers. Now I do if it ends up being a bad kicker I want to stream, but you typically are streaming defenses, cycling them in and out every single week, whereas with kickers, they're kind of more staples in your roster. So I'm going to go with the best kicker in fantasy football, Harrison Bucker, the fucker kicker of the Kansas City Chiefs. If you went with Young Hoku, you went with Justin Tucker, I would not judge you either. I think those are the clear top three kickers in fantasy football. And for defense, like I'm saying, you want to play a defense, playing a shitty offense week one or an offense that's going to struggle. And then week two, you cut them, you find a new defense. I post videos every single week on the defenses to be playing the must-add defenses every single week. So you guys have that edge, that lick up on your opponents so that you can go ahead and stream the best defenses for success every single week. Because drafting one defense and playing them every single week is idiotic. Drafting two defenses, cycling them in differently every single week is also idiotic because, you know, some weeks neither of them are going to have good matchups, and drafting two defenses instead of getting that extra running back, that extra wide receiver help on your team, to me, just is not the best strategy because you really want to have that depth at running back and wide receiver. So this screen right here, to me, ESPN needs a whole lot of work on their draft platform, especially at the ADP. I think they need a draft board, which is something they do not have at all. So we're going to have to look on the left side of the screen here to view our team. I'll make myself a little bit bigger so you guys can see me a little bit better, my beautiful face over here. So looking at the board on the left, our team, our starting quarterback is Matthew Stafford. Our two running backs in the starting roster are Aaron Jones and J.K. Dobbins. Our wide receivers are Stefon Diggs and Allen Robinson. Our tight end is Irv Smith Jr. Our flex is DJ Moore. Our defense is the Browns defense. Our kicker is Harrison Bucker, the fucker. Our bench is comprised of Kenny Gallaudet, Mike Davis, Jerry Jeudy, Damian Harris, Leonard Fournette, which should have been Ronald Jones, but I didn't see Ronald Jones. That's just the problem with these ADPs being so off. You need to really be locked on in and paying attention. Now, if the draft wasn't on auto pick and it wasn't zooming directly to my pick and I only had 30 seconds, I probably would have been able to sniff that one out. But I do apologize for that. But I still do like Leonard Fournette. But to me, he's the clear number two behind Ronald Jones. But every given week, it really is confusing in Tampa Bay because Bruce Arians says one thing and does the complete opposite. After that, we went with Gus Edwards and Rashad Bateman to close out this team. We have a lot of Baltimore Ravens players, which is a little bit spicy. Could have probably went with Darnell Mooney, but I didn't necessarily want to have two pass catchers on the same team necessarily. So thank you guys. If you do end up doing that, that's fine with me, but it wasn't necessarily what I was looking at. Plus, I wanted to talk about Rashad Bateman. I feel as though I've really dug deep in on Darnell Mooney in a lot of these videos, and I try to draft different players so that you guys can understand my perspective on a lot of these players inside of these drafts. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying today's video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Let me know down below what mock draft you guys want to end up seeing next. I try to do every mock draft that people request, but there's only 31 days in August. And there's 13,000 plus of you guys giving me these requests, so I'm trying to do as many mock drafts as possible, one every single day, matched with another video in most days. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this mock draft. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe as always. Good boy!